Greetings. Welcome back to not what just might be the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch forest, but to my new understanding, the potential Yeti forest as well. I'm going to invite you to join me on yet another expedition out into the wilderness. I can't promise you that we will see or hear anything out of the ordinary. We may or we may not. And what we may or may not see or hear may or may not be Bigfoot Sasquatch or his or her or their cousin, the Yeti. I can make you only one guarantee as we start this journey, and that is that whether this journey lasts 12 minutes, whether it lasts 18 minutes, or some period of time in between, or whether it goes over or under that time period, that's an amount of time that you will never, ever, ever be able to get back should you choose to continue watching this video past this point. As always, I'm going to ask that you get my 6. I'm going to ask that you look in the background. I'm going to ask that you listen. We're heading back into the forest to a spot to where on our last outing, myself and many others believe we may or may not have seen a potential Bigfoot Sasquatch. We're going to be looking for tracks. A couple folks commented that they saw something white in the snow. It wasn't snow. There was a creature. And my first thought was, okay, I've got a bunch of people on here pulling my leg. Until I went into town this morning to the grocery store. I bragged yesterday about how we don't run to the grocery store to help clear out the shelves of beer, toilet paper, milk, bread. But I realized I was out of coffee, so you better believe I went to Harris Teeter. Yeah, a lot of times when my family and I go out into town, someone will approach us and they'll say, hey, I watch you guys on YouTube. I like your channel. And we'll be like, oh, hey, thanks for letting us know. You know, we have some nice conversations with these folks. We've ran into people in the trails out hiking who have said the same thing. Make sure you're watching back there. Remember, you got to make it look like you're not trying to see them. That's when you're most likely to see them, and that's when we most likely see them on these videos. You know, when I talk about like my crushes on 1980s movie stars like Phoebe Cates and Olivia Newton-John. So anyway, yeah, not too long ago we ran into Joanne and David and their son in the trails. Hey guys, if you're still watching. They were telling us how much they like the channel. So I'm at Harris Teeter getting coffee. And this guy approaches me. He goes, hey man, I love your channel. I was like, oh, thanks. What's your name? I'll give you a shout out. You know, because that's generally what I'll do. Talk to these wonderful folks. Give them a shout out next time I do a video. And he laughed. He said, well, I don't mind telling you my name. And he did. That looks like that could be a dwelling of sorts. He says, but I don't want a shout out. I said, why not? He says, well, because I'd rather you just tell my story He says, I don't want to jeopardize my job or embarrass my family. I work for the university, like half the people in this area. He says, you know, but I've been watching the last couple of weeks. I love this Bigfoot Sasquatch stuff you're doing. But I got to tell you, you need to be careful out there, because when I was a teenager, a couple buddies and myself saw a Yeti. A Yeti. I'm like, what, did you live in Nepal? He's like, no, I was living in Virginia, not here. I hope I have the guts to go back in those woods after I tell you this guy's story. Look right in the center of the screen while I act like I'm not. I forgot to mention yesterday, Phoebe Cates was also in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'd forgotten about that. You know, something else that a lot of folks have been pointing out in the comment section on these videos is how quiet it is here. No, I have not seen my free-range deer herd that numbers between 20 and 40 head of free-range deer in over a month on my property. There's one bird, and I fill my bird feeders. Usually I have to fill them twice a day. I'll fill them now, and the feed will stay there for 2 days, and this is the time of the year that the birds are supposed to be around, but they're not. That's right where we're going, right inside that wood line. So anyway, this guy's somewhere in Virginia. He did say southwest. Yeah, so I'm assuming down around the Blacksburg area, down where that other college is here in Virginia. And he says his grandfather told him and his cousins and all this stuff, everybody that would listen around for years, this tale of this one night he's driving down this old, it's, you know, hybrid between a trail and a road on their property. They had a pretty big property, big family farm, been in the family for generations, like so many of the properties here in Virginia. I mean, remember, this was the first settlement, you know, Jamestown, 3 hours east of here. And the grandfather told a story about how something white, right in the middle of summer, jumped into the trail / road there on the family farm while he's coming back toward the farmhouse there just before dark. And it just took 2 leaps. Well, 1 leap. One into the center of the road and another leap out. And it landed on like 2 back legs, hunkered down, touched the ground with its hands in front, and leapt, whatever the proper word is. I don't have any of my editors with me here right now. Fired most of them. Truman Jackson's always trying to get a job back. But then it was all the way across the road and into the woods on the other side. Now, what's so odd about this is the fact that the old man had seen deer jump in the road there many times, and it took a big size full-grown buck 2 or 3 times of touching the ground to get across that road into the woods on the other side. It's number one. Number two, yes, at one point all 4s touched the ground like a big cat, like maybe some sort of wild cat. However, number 3, it was solid white. Guys, we're gonna do the inevitable. Dark's coming. I'm just gonna speed this thing up and we're heading right into the woods. Well, here we go, guys. We're heading in. It's getting dark fast. I'll tell you, when it gets dark out here, it gets dark fast. So I better hurry. But I want to point something out to you as we head into the forest. I mentioned my deer. Okay, here's a set of deer tracks. 1 set of deer tracks. 2 set of deer tracks. 3 set of deer tracks. So there's been 3 deer through here in the last 24 hours since the snow has come on. Guys, we were seeing 20 to 40 deer a day at a time out here. Where have they gone? Why do they only seem to be passing through here now in very, very small numbers? 1 to 3 is a pretty small number compared to 20 to 40. Okay guys, it's almost dark. We're in the woods. I'm going to finish my tale here of this alleged Yeti sighting in Southwest Virginia. And just to up the ante a little bit, I'm going to give out a call, see if that helps. You get my 6. All right, so this guy tells me he's 17 years old. It's spring gobbler season. Him and 2 of his best good friends are out on the very back part of his family's old property, spring gobbler hunting. They're out all morning. They're all in different locations. They went in on 2 4-wheelers, 2 on one on another. They get back together just before noon. Nobody shot anything. And one of the 3 guys is just going on and on and on about how he saw a Yeti Bigfoot Sasquatch. Now, there was a late snow that year, so there was sporadic patches of snow still in the forest on the northern slopes where the sun just never shines. This kid says he's sitting there trying to call for turkeys when all of a sudden what he thought was a patch of snow, it was about 100 yards away, so far away he could barely see it. I mean, if you look at the tip of this place back here, that's probably only 50 yards away. So 100 yards away in a Virginia forest is quite a distance. So what he thought was a patch of snow gets up and walks away, goes away the opposite direction where he is, and walks out of sight. So the guy telling me this story says that he and the other guy laughed this guy. They just start laughing, telling him he's crazy. They get on their 4-wheelers, start heading back. And at about the exact same spot where this guy's grandfather said, I don't know, 30, 40 years before this, he had seen what he saw. They saw the same thing his grandfather had said for years he saw. Something large, something furry, yet something white. Came flying out of the woods on one side of the road, touched down in the center, landed on 2 hind legs, hunkered down to grip in with its hands, its front paws, whatever you want to call them, hands or paws, gives one mighty leap out of the center of the road and is gone into the woods on the other side, a place where this man telling me the story also himself said it would take a deer 2 or 3 good leaps across that road. He said it wasn't a cat, it wasn't a deer, but he said he was reluctant to say what it was he thought it was. He said he loves this channel, but he said I need to be careful while I'm out here doing this kind of stuff, especially at night, which will be here in about 30 seconds. Okay, where did that thing go? Right there. I'm not saying I believe the guy. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm relaying his story. I have reason to believe he's watching. I didn't say your name, and I won't. Thank you for your tale. If you guys watching this video have your own tales, send them in the comment section. tell me a good one when I come out here in the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch / Yeti woods. Maybe I'll talk about some of y'all's tales instead of Phoebe Cates and Olivia Newton-John.